So thank you, Brittany, for coming on.
Thank you, Diana, for having me. So like Diana said, I am Brittany Muhammad Acosta. I am the founder and CEO of Mosaic The Label, and we are a lifestyle brand that strives to empower and uplift the mixed community. So we make products specifically for that. So all of our products have a unique message in that we want to have those of mixed race or mixed heritage show pride in their everyday life. Some of our products are very overt with a specific attitude to them, and then some of them are more subtle. So it depends on, what you're feeling that day. But we do, like Diana said, we have, ours is unisex. We make products for men, women, youths, which are like older children, and then as well as toddlers. And right now we have a line of apparel and accessories, and we are actually going to launch 15 more new products, this month. So we've been busy. So yeah, it's been good.
And where are you from?
So I am from New York. I'm originally born and raised in the Bronx. I went to college in Brooklyn. I've worked pretty much most of my career in Manhattan. Is that all the boroughs? And and I've lived in Queens for the majority of my adult life. So New Yorker through and through.
I love it. When I found out where she lives, I'm like, man, I meet so many amazing women who are so far away from me, but it's been so much fun meeting women who aren't just next door to me. So how did you come up with the brand name Mosaic Label, and what inspired you to start this brand?
So I have a daughter. She is 4 years old, and she is multiracial. So I am Irish and Trinidadian, and my husband is Black and Puerto Rican. So my daughter is all of those. And that's just like our majority races, because I'm a little bit of, my husband is Cherokee also, as am I, and Scandinavian, things like that. So, as a mixed person myself, I was raised a certain way. My husband was raised a certain way, and we want to raise our daughter a certain way. So in January of this year, I was, I go on websites all the time looking for products for her, like t-shirts, clothing, whatever. And I always find myself either coming to a t-shirt that has a graphic of a certain race, one type of race. Usually it's either Black or white. And I'm like, well, that doesn't fit. So, every now and then I'll go and I'll search for specific products that are like, have children, graphics that are, like either ambiguous because they don't have mixed, or something that's not one or the other. Yeah. And so in January, I was like, why isn't there a website that either brings all these products together for me so I can buy, because I was wanting to buy specific products, or that have unique products I don't see anywhere else. And when I started Googling, mixed race products, the only thing I would come up against was hair stuff. And I didn't want any hair products. I wanted like apparel, but I wanted it cool because I wanted a certain vibe, right? Like, we're from New York, so she dresses, we're a sneaker family, we're a Nike family, so I couldn't find what I wanted. So I was like, oh, okay. But then, January, February, I couldn't get the idea out of my head. It just kept coming up to the point where I had notebooks and I would just write down, or I had, the longest note in my phone, and I would just keep writing ideas down. And it came to the point where I'm like, if this isn't going away, maybe I should just embrace it, right? But I have a full-time job. I have a career that I've been in since college, and I'm a mother to a daughter, and I have a house and a husband, and I have 2 dogs. And it's like, can I do this? And so I was like, let me just try. And, so we launched in May. I was struggling to come up with a name because I didn't want something overt, but I didn't want something that didn't like resonate or click. And I had my mom, because she's an English major, and she like knows every English language word you can think of. Her vocabulary is like immense. And so she would just send me all these ideas. And one day she was like, mosaic. And she had the definition and different parts that make up a whole picture. And I'm like, that's it. Like, that is it. So there were companies that were already called Mosaic, obviously, like tile companies. So we decided to add the label because it is a specific, like, bright, lifestyle brand. It's a specific label. So that's how we came up with Mosaic The Label. And to me, it really fits us, because when I tell people the name and then the mission, they're like, I get it. You put, because our motto is the parts make the whole. Because as a mixed race person, you're not one or the other. You're not half or half. Everything makes up who you are. And that person is a wholly unique person. So that's really our message. That is really what we stand on. That's our foundational branding. So we wanted our name to match that as well.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
And I even read your bio on your website, and because at first I seen Mosaic and I didn't fully understand it until I read that. And after I read that, I was like, it has such a deep meaning to it. And I love it because even when I wear your necklace, people stop me and they say, what does that say? And I feel like that opens the door to not only speak about your brand, but just also how it is being a mixed woman. And then that starts a conversation, which I think is the whole purpose of your brand.
Exactly right. Yeah. So like you're wearing it's our name necklace, and yeah, exactly. People are like, well, that's not your name. Like, but that's who I am. I am a mosaic. I'm a mosaic of everything that has come before me, that is now, that's going to come after me. And I feel like it affects or it impacts mixed race people, especially because we're always put into one or the other. If you're darker skinned, you are only Black. If you're lighter skinned, you're only white. Or, if you're Asian, you're only Asian. It doesn't matter. Or you are, I get told sometimes you are what your father is. And it's like, no, you're a mixed race. It's not easy. So I wanted to make sure that people understood we're not one or the other. We don't have to choose a side. You can live within your own realm. You can be your own person. And like, now that I'm a mom, it's something that I have to constantly tell my daughter, because she isn't growing up with a half or half. Like, she isn't growing up with a single race mom and a single race dad like I did. She's growing up with a mixed race mom and a mixed race dad.
So she's gonna be encountering the same thing as you.
Yeah, exactly. So we're, now it's more apparent than ever to like not have our daughter go through like the struggles, even though she will, but make sure she understands who she is, where she came from, however she wants to identify. That's her choice. But to understand, you don't have to have society tell you who you are. You dictate that. And whatever way you want to be, that's who you are. So we talk to her about skin color. We talk to her about Black Lives Matter. We talk to her about, everything that's going on. And she's 4, and we ensure that all the books that she has, all the toys that she plays with, reflect her. And that's difficult, because it's either one or the other. So we're trying and that's kind of, where we came in, so that we want to ensure even the kids who come after our daughter can have, items that speak directly to them being of mixed race.
You were touching on one of the questions I was going to ask too, because I know you mentioned your daughter a lot. And what are some things that you teach her to make sure that she's exposed to both sides? So that's amazing that you do that. Is it hard? So it's hard finding products for her and books and everything, huh?
Yeah, it's really tough, because it's, you'll have books and they'll, only speak to one population of people, whatever race that is, right? And her being a female is even, doubly hard, because we are very, obviously you can tell we're a very strong female family. Brittany's the boss, Mommy's the boss, and my husband married me for that. So we're trying, we're trying to just ensure that she hears it all the time, and I feel like a lot of parents don't want to talk about race because they don't want to make it seem like their child is an other, right? But the way I see it is, my child is different from everybody else. I don't know if she'll ever meet someone who's, Black, Puerto Rican, Irish, and Trinidadian. I never met someone who's like me, right? So we're teaching her that she is unique and she is different. And so it's, became my mission. And I have now, thank goodness, we have a lot of books that portray mixed families, mixed children, so we're able to expose her to more. And when she wears her shirt, or like Diana, I have a story, like we have a sticker and it says "more than my hair," because her hair is dark like mine, but like ringlet curly. I mean, it is so curly, and it's past her behind now, and she's only 4. And since the day she came out at the hospital, and they're like, oh my God. I was like, what's wrong? They're like, she has a lot of hair. Like, why'd you scare me like that? Don't scare her like that. Just her baby, for God's sakes. But she was born with a head, so everywhere you go, someone comments on her hair. And at a certain point, you're like, okay, well, you're more than your hair. So you're like, you're smart, you're intelligent, you're lively, you're energetic, So anyway, I made this sticker and I was unwrapping it. And she's very interested in like business and what mommy has a job, but mommy has a business too.
Yeah.
And she saw the sticker and she literally was like, mommy, that looks like me.
Aww.
And she's never been able to do that before. And I was like, okay, I need a minute song. But that's why I created it. So it can look like her as a specific skin tone. It had curly hair, you know, and she's like, that looks like me. I'm like, that's it. We're done. Mission accomplished. That's what I wanted her to say. Okay, that I can see myself reflected in just the general, you know, populate like the media and things you wear and things you see. And for her to say that without being prompted, or I was just showing her, I was like, it's a sticker. And she's like, that looks like me, mommy. It's just, you know, she's getting it. And we want her to understand that it is okay to have pride. You should have pride. You know, when people ask me, because they ask me all the time about, you know, they'll see my husband and me and then they'll see her and they're like you can see they're doing the math. And we're always very open about who we are. And we, you know, we tell people, okay, this is what we are, like, what are you, whatever. And we're trying to teach her, like, you don't need to answer that question if you don't want to, but you should have pride in who you are because, you know, you do come from a background that's very unique. And you should be proud of that. So we're teaching her that she's special because she is different. So
that's such a beautiful story. It's about to make me emotional because even as a kid, like I can relate to that. Never seeing any products that look like me or that I could relate to. So hearing her say that, that's amazing story to hear.
It's my favorite thing.
It's a good age too, because that's the perfect age to introduce her to stuff like that. Because I don't have any kids, but just, you know, based off learning from other people, I feel like that's the vital age where they are really listening and really aware of what's going around them, and whatever happens at that age, it really affects them. So for her to say at that young of an age, I already can see the impact that you're putting on her. And if you're putting an impact on her, I can't imagine how many other women and men that you're impacting right now.
Yeah, I know it. And it's you're exactly right. Like, she's my only one, you know, she's it, one and done. And we're literally learning every day, you know, from 1 to 2, 2 to 3. It's been such leaps and bounds. And even when she was like 2.5, you forget how much is like seeping in that you can't control. I don't go to, you know, her nursery school with her. I don't, you know, I control what she watches on TV, but still that it's still coming through, you know. So she got a magnetic doll set for a gift and had 3 little, like, you know, dolls that you could put like clothes on or whatever. One was white, and one was black. And she's like, okay, mommy, you want to play dolls? I'm like, yeah, sure. She goes, okay, you be this. She said, you be this one, which was the white one. And she goes, I'm going to be this one, which is the white one. And I said, well, what about this one? This one was brown skin. She goes, no. I said, well, why not? And she's like 2. She could like barely speak. I'm like, well, why not? She got, I don't like that one. I said, well, why? I said, you know, your skin is her skin, and her skin is my skin, and her skin is daddy's skin. Well, why? And you could see like she couldn't figure out why. She just knew that she didn't like that. And at that point, we made an everyday conversation. We made sure like, this is my skin, this is your skin. We might not match, like none of us match, but that doesn't make us any less special. And it just became a very like concrete conversation. We talk about it every single day, and not in a like, okay, we're going to talk way, but like, you see that she's beautiful. Isn't she beautiful? Oh, isn't she beautiful? And we make sure to point out, you know, different color skin, different ability, different disability, different features. Everybody's beautiful, so that she understands just because you are different doesn't mean you're less than, you know. So, and you're right. It's like these things get in and then they formulate an idea, and then that idea sticks, even if it's the wrong idea, you know? So we're trying to, every day we try to just like counteract anything that, you know, society is throwing at her. And to make sure that she has the words and the wherewithal to say, I am beautiful because, you know, so.
And I love that, because not only is it teaching her about all of the culture or the races of what she's mixed with, but for me, I always say that it's been tough growing up mixed and not being able to relate to other people, but it's also a blessing because I feel like being exposed to so much or different cultures and different ways of life, it really makes me open to new ideas and to meeting people, not judging them right away.
Mm-hmm.
Because, if you look at my family, you would never be able to tell any of us are related. It's like one person looks white, the other person looks Asian, this person looks black. And so for me, it really just makes me so open to like new ideas, and I love it. And even when it comes to, which I'll ask you, like things that you've encountered, but even just like simple as like meals, like people say, oh, what do you cook? And for most it's easy, but for me, I'm like, I'm not saying I don't know because I can't cook. It's just I'm exposed to so much culture that I basically answer by saying what I'm in the mood for. Like at our household, we never grew up with just a specific type of meal or dish. And my mom made, soul food. She made, Mexican food. She made Italian. So, it's just crazy, like how much being mixed has opened up the doors for me to just learn so much.
Yeah.
But,
and I think a lot of people, they'll say, we've come a long way, right? Like there's so many more mixed people now than when you and I were younger, right? Like, 20, 30 years ago. And granted, yes, but I also feel like the struggles and the issues are still there, right? Because it's a day-to-day process. And it really does depend on like, how your family is, if you grow up with both sides, right? And then where you grow up, right? If you're the only one, it's really hard. I got lucky because I was born and raised in New York, right? But I still had struggles because everyone thought I was Hispanic, and I would have to say no over and over again, to the point where they're like, you're lying. And I'm like, no, I'm really not lying, And then I show them my parents, like, oh, okay. You're not lying. You're like, oh, this is what you get when you mix these two. Okay. So, but I would be like, why am I not as dark as my dad? Like maybe that would have helped, and, in the winter I lose my coloring because it's the winter, and then I'm like super light. So, but I had a mom, she messaged me a couple months ago, and we have a shirt that says, please tell me again how I don't look black.
Which I love, by the way.
Yeah. And it's one of those things that I've had to say, like, oh yeah, I get it. You don't think I'm black because okay, fine. Please, can you tell me again how I don't look black? And she bought one. She was asking about sizing because she wanted to buy one for her like preteen son. I think he's like 12 or 13, because he is half black, half white. And he would go to school and they would make fun of him, like, oh, you're not black. Oh, you're not black. And so she bought him this shirt, and she sent me a picture of him wearing it to school proudly. Aww. And because his shirt is going to talk for him. You don't need to justify anything for these people, right? But you also want to get your point across. And she said the shirt was a big hit, like he loves it. So I'm like, again, like it's those things that I'm like, okay, I know I'm doing a good job. I know I'm on the right track, So it's been, so like stories like that, I'm like, okay, this is exactly what I intended. So it's been awesome.
And I definitely need that shirt too, because it's something I encounter on the daily.
Like, oh, you don't look like, what am I supposed to look like? Oh, you don't look black. Oh, you don't look, and then people come up to me and speak Spanish, and I'll just be like, nope, that's my husband. And they'll look at him like, cause he's darker than me. So they think he's the black one. And I'm the Hispanic one. I'm like, no, not today. Nope.
And it's so funny, like, because I really just don't meet that many people with the same story. So when you're saying that story, or just any story, I'm like, I have that exact same story.
It's the same thing. I know, it's crazy. It's the exact same story, like over and over again. And we all have it, And I really do feel for like, my mom who's not mixed, my dad who was not mixed. It must have been difficult for them to bring these three kids on one of three into the world, So I want to help, single race parents who have mixed children, because they don't know. Yeah. They've never encountered, like you and I, we have the same experiences, right? We can talk all day about this, but those parents don't. So I get a lot of parents who are single race who are like, I'm not sure how I should be talking about this. What should I do? Because it's difficult for a white mom to speak to her half black son about the police, because her experience is not the same, and it will never be the same. So I also do, you know, because I feel like mixed people are like, it's innate, like, because they've experienced it and they can better speak to their children if they choose to have children. But for the single race people, I think it must be difficult for them. So I really do try and help a little bit more with, like, you know, educating them of like, here's what happens, here's how you can help, here's how you can talk about it. And the biggest thing for me is just talking about it. Like, because if you don't, your kid won't know what to do. You know, your half Black son is Black and he will not encounter, like, if he grew like anywhere, right? You know, so my child knows, you know, things about the police in New York. Here's how you act. You have to act a certain way. You have to act accordingly because you are this way and society will treat you this way. So it's important to know who you are and respect yourself, you know, but also know how to conduct yourself. And that's something that, you know, I feel for my parents, because I'm like, Ma, I don't know how you did it. Like, you know, but she was just like, I'm raising a completely different child. And like, she's from Indiana. She moved to New York the day after she graduated high school.
Huge
so
difference.
She's like, it was a huge difference, you know? So, and now she has New York kids. So we try to like, I'm the only one. We as business owners, right? It's the we, because it's like bigger. I try to, you know, like go above and beyond for the parents who, you know, who I think maybe have it a little bit harder than mixed race parents who can use their experiences like you and I to help, you know, other people.
Yeah. I love that because just your merchandise, again, we kind of touched on it, but just your merchandise alone, the saying on the shirt, I feel like everything that you created creates a conversation. And I think that's amazing. What are some things that you've encountered as a mixed woman that you think most people couldn't relate to? Like a scenario that you've faced? Because for me, I wrote about, you know, simple stuff like my hair, you know, it being a texture of a white girl, but the thickness and is more Black. The food, like I told you, people asking me, what are you mixed with and not believing me, stuff like that. What are some things that you've encountered, or your daughter, or your family as a whole?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm sure there's a lot, but
I will say it's been interesting because at the company I work at, I've worked there for 7 years, but my career has always been in publishing. So before, you know, when I was younger, I started in trade publishing, which is like books you find in Barnes and Noble, and then I moved into higher ed publishing, which is the books that you get when you're in college, like textbooks. So anyway, long story short, I'm in charge of diversity, equity, and inclusion for my team at my company. And so we had a call yesterday and we did like a little book club type of thing. And so everybody was there, and like my company is like not diverse at all. Like I feel like when I was hired, they like got to mark multiple check boxes, right? Like I was a quota filler. And I'm like, well, you know, because when you're, you know, young and dumb, you're like, okay, whatever. But anyway, we were talking about certain things and it came up, you know, we were reading a short story by Amy Tan, and she was talking about how her mother has a different English than she does, and people call it broken, but it's not, it's just different. So I was telling stories about how, you know, my dad was an immigrant from Trinidad. He moved to America right from Trinidad when he was like an adult after he attended college. And I would have to speak on his behalf because he would be like, Brittany, no one's going to understand me, because he had an accent. And so we would go to the bank. I'd have to speak for him. He would not speak. You know, we had to do a funeral. He would not speak. On the phone, he would not speak. Same thing with my uncle. We traveled a lot. We would go through customs or security. He wouldn't speak. He would just defer to me, because it was this thing of like, you're an American, you speak proper, you speak better, they'll understand you. And so little things like that, like I didn't think about until we talked about it yesterday. And I didn't realize like, oh, nobody else has this experience. You know, so it's like, it's multi-layered because, and now I have to add this other thing to my bucket of like, I am a daughter of an immigrant, right? And just, you know, just like growing up where I grew up and, being in corporate America for as long as I've been, it's, you know, you go through the struggle of, do I dilute myself? Like yesterday we were talking about like code switching. And someone was like, oh, I never do that. And I was like, well, I've worked in corporate America since I was 22, 21, right out of college. I was in sales and marketing and editorial, and now I'm in operations. I've had to do it. Like in sales, I had to move to Boston and do it. And I would go in and knock on a professor's door and be like, can I talk to you? And they'd be like, where are you from? Because Boston and New York don't get along. And I'm like, what? Pardon me, what? And they're like, where are you from? And I'm like, New York. And they're like, okay, what part? I'm like, the Bronx. They're like, yeah, no, we're good. Because Boston and New York, they don't get along. And so I had to learn to like say talk instead of talk. Like, so I can, you know, and then I have a professional speaking voice, and then I have a normal Brittany voice, and then I have a mad Trini voice. Like, don't get me mad because Brittany's Trini now. And people
don't want to see that side.
Don't want to see that one. Because then I've had people like friends that are like, oh, you are Trini. Oh, okay. Like, you know, because so like things like that, I didn't realize until I've had to speak about them. You know, so, but it's always been, you know, you're not enough. You know, growing up in the Bronx, we had, obviously it was a large population where I'm from is, you know, Puerto Rican or Dominican. And so people would ask me, which one are you, Puerto Rican or Dominican? And I'd be like, neither. And then, or you were Jamaican and Cambodian. That's pretty much all we had. My mom was like one of 5 people on the whole entire block that was white. So it was like, she was like a freaking unicorn. It was so weird. People would be like, and then you see my dad. And then I remember one time he would come home at 5 o'clock in like a tie and a shirt, because he worked in the city in Manhattan. So he was fancy, right? So he would come around the corner with his little tie and his little briefcase. And I'd go up to him and I'm like, Dad, can I get $1? Because it was Ice Cream Man. And he'd be like, here you go. And I had one of my friends, she was a newer friend. She was like, who was that? I said, that was my dad. He goes, really? I'm like, yeah, why? It didn't even, I'm like, why? Yeah. It didn't even, she's like, oh, he doesn't, you guys don't look alike. And I'm like, yeah, we do. Because my mom would always say, you have your dark hair from your dad. You have all your dark features from your dad. Like you have your dad's mouth. But also in the Bronx, I was one of the few kids who had a dad. Most of them didn't grow up with their father. So to have my father with me the whole entire duration of everything and live in the same house was very odd. So even that was like, 1, who was that? Oh, you got a dad? Oh, okay. And 2, why he's so dark? Why he don't look like you? So just like things like that. And that's where, you know, I got the whole thing of like, I don't care if you ask me what I am, because that gives me the opportunity to tell you and tell you to your face. You know, and then with my daughter, there was one time recently, actually, when she was 2, we went to a party and we were the only ones, We were the only ones who were not white. The only 3 people there. I mean, we stood out like sore thumbs. And, you know, this lady like started engaging us and was just like, oh, where did she get her hair from? I said, what do you mean, where'd she get her hair from? The store? I don't know what you're asking me. And I got an attitude because like, why? Don't ask me like that. And she was like, oh, well, you don't have curly hair. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, your husband doesn't. I'm like, my husband's bald. He shaves his head. Like he has no hair. And I'm just like, where are you going with this? You know, so it's like, and it didn't go down a good road. So I was at a kids party. I was like, I'm gonna excuse myself, this lady, because I'm not trying to punch you out right now, because the cops will get called on me and I will be taken away. But you know, but then you realize like when you say something, she hears you. So I have to make sure that whatever I say, because there was one time unrelated to race, but at the park, someone like pushed her, and I said it's okay. What I meant was it's okay to slow. I'm like, you're okay. It's okay. Like you know. And what she heard was, it's okay that person pushed you. And I still remember this. I still feel like crap every single day that I think about this. And from that point on, those words never come out of my mouth. We teach her to stand up for herself. That is not okay, you know? But she heard it a different way. So we're very specific in what we say and how we say it. So she can hear that conversation of when I'm engaging people on you know, who she is and what she is. And people will come up to her. They're like, oh my God, she's so beautiful. Thank you. Then they'll say, can I touch her hair?
Oh my
Absolutely
God.
not. Absolutely
Yeah.
not. And so Sloan will now say, if I call her in here right now, then I'll say, Sloan, is anyone allowed to touch your hair? No.
Mm-hmm.
Don't touch my hair. Don't touch my face. Don't touch any part of me. But you have to teach kids this. I didn't know that. I just thought it was like innate,
Yeah.
And now my mom never had to teach me, like, don't let anyone touch your hair. My face, yes, because Trinity's have a thing about, like, don't touch your face. My dad would be like, don't let nobody touch your face. But the hair thing, I'm like, you can say no. Say no.
Yeah.
Nope. Because it's like, you're not a sideshow animal. You're a human being, you're different. You are gorgeous, but say no. And she'll be like, no, don't touch my hair. No, don't touch my hair. So, it's so interesting because you live your own life and then you have a kid.
Yeah.
And they live their own life, but so much of it you can see, And right now we're struggling with, like, we live in Long Island because it's the only place you can afford a house in New York right now. Mm-hmm. And we live in a predominantly white area. Mm-hmm. And it's difficult, when you go to a restaurant and you're the only one. Yeah. Or, when you go to the movies and you're the only one, or you go to the store and you're the only one. Yeah. And you don't realize it until you're the only one. Yeah. Exactly. So we're now struggling with, okay, should we move back to Queens? Because this is weird,
Man, so. It seems like it's so crazy. Just, when we talk, it's like I'm aware of the things that, that you bring up and that I've brought up. And when we talk together, I'm like, oh yeah, like I can relate, but it's just crazy talking in person about it. Cause it's like, you're right. It's not only that we're mixed, but we're women of color, where we live. It's just, you're doing a great job, I think. Let's just say that.
You do. I know, because you don't realize, you don't realize. And then you also don't realize, like, you have more stories than you think you do. Yeah. Because a lot of it, you just, like, it's normal for people to, like, judge you or tell you you're not enough, or, being a friend, like, oh, that's your Black side coming out. Yeah. Like, things like that are, like, innocent, but you like learn to just, like, oh, whatever, brush it off, right? Let those comments go. And then when you talk to people who are like, you're like, oh, wait, I got a lot of stories. Hold on, I got a lot of stories.
And I feel like I've been holding this in since growing up because, like I said, I haven't talked about it for years. And to finally talk about it with my friend, that's when I was realizing, like, man, like, nobody talks about this. And now speaking with you, like, just when you're talking, I have like 20 stories coming up. I'm like, we could talk about this all day if you want.
I know, it's the same for me, and like, I have people who they don't know the other parent. They know they're mixed, but they don't know their other side. Yeah. So that's even another struggle for them. And it's so different and diverse, and everybody is unique. When it comes to that, I'm never going to live like my daughter, who is the daughter of two mixed race people. Yeah. Don't ask me how I found my husband. We've been together since we were 17. But it's like it's like one of those things that Drew, like, I was like, wait, you're what? And he's like, you're what? And I was like, okay. So, but it's just so different, and everybody is so unique, and everybody's experience is so unique, but you also find, like, you also have like a lot of commonality, no matter if you're West Coast and I'm East Coast. It's like the same thing, you live the same life almost. It's weird. It's very weird.
It is.
No matter how progressive they say the country is, you are still, different or not accepted, or, now I've never been on social media. Like, ever, never, like, never, until I had a business. And I still don't feel like I'm on social media because it's like, it's my business. Yeah. So I don't engage, like, I don't have any like high school friends or anything like that. And I've just recently got these, like, comments on Facebook, and I'm like, this is toxic. Yeah. Because they'll be like, oh, disgusting. And me, I will not delete. I'm like, nope. I'm going to check you right now. I'm going to check you. Yep. I don't care if I'm a business or whatever. And because I'm going to engage these people because you're ignorant, and I'm going to show how ignorant you are, where they'll say, I've only gotten like 3 or 4 based on like an ad comes up.
Or too much, by the way.
Seriously. And it's like on an ad. It's like running a Facebook ad. And I'm like, if you don't like it, keep going. Keep going.
Yeah.
Like you're taking the time to say disgusting. Okay. All right. Well, now I'm going to go at you because you don't get to say whatever you want in this world, but even like that, you can surround yourself with progressive people, but those not, progressive is like, mixed race is good. And, you can love whoever you want, but you still have the, the rest of society being like, you are not an anomaly. You don't belong.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 and it's like,
by them doing that, it just brings highlight to the reason why we're doing this.
Exactly. Yep. And I'm prepared, for the day when someone wants to tell me that, or, I've been told that before, and I'm going to prepare our future generations, it's like, you can't let that stuff go. I am not of the philosophy of like, oh, just ignore it. Nope.
Yeah.
You came out your mouth to talk to me. So I'm going to correct you, so.
You definitely bring out your personality on your page too. I was like, I love this girl. I could just tell, even when we're messaging, I'm like, our personalities are just like. So I love that you say that, because I think that's what makes people's business stand out, is when they're genuinely being themselves. And even though you're promoting like your brand and products and stuff, you can still tell how your personality is, and you're being yourself. So I love it.
For better or for worse, right?
Yeah.
Tone it down. But it's like, this is who I am. And it's one of those things I can't turn off. So it's like, well, better to embrace it, I guess. So.
Well, we can sit here all day talking about being mixed women and our experiences, but going back to your business, I'm actually shocked, going back to what you said, that you started in January, you said, thinking about it. And
and we launched in May. Yeah.
I'm so shocked, because I really thought you've been doing this for years, the way that your page looks and your
honestly, I have no idea what I'm doing. No idea. Every day I like figure, and like I said, I have no idea about social media. So I ask my sister-in-law all the time. I'm like, how do you get to I feel like an old man. I'm like, how do you get to the thing? I click on this button, and I have no idea, but I research everything, and I try to learn as much as I can. And I will say, like, owning a business, Diana, has not highlighted like what I lack, but it's highlighted what I do have, because like I do have a sales background, I do have a marketing background, I do have an operational background. So I'm like, I didn't know how much I knew. And I use those things to just figure it out. Like my operational background, I learned how to do an Instagram page and a Facebook page. Even, I'm 35 years old, I've never had one before. I'm like, we don't figure this out right now. And so I can figure that out, and then I just kind of fill in all the other stuff that I thought I didn't have. So like, for example, I can draw a stick figure, like the best stick figure you've ever seen, but I have like, at least I thought I didn't have any like artistic or design, whatever. But I will tell, my designer, like, this is what I'm looking for. Like our cookie shirt is like one of the first shirts that we have. And I'm like, I'm looking for like a black and white cookie, like a stack and this and that. And then they created, but it was my vision. You know what I mean? I can't do the actual this thing. I know what this thing is. But I'm like, oh, I did that. I did design it. I didn't do the work, but I was like, that was my idea. So I'm just learning every day, and I'm trying to really listen to my audience, right? My consumers. So like a lot of the stuff I don't plan out months in advance. I plan out like a month or two in advance. And so like the shirt we were talking about, I've gotten asked, can you make a shirt that said for like Latinx, and can you make one that says Asian? And so those are currently in the works, because that is what people want. And so I'm just trying to like, ensure that I'm giving people what they want and items that speak to them. So, but every day I'm like learning. Today I was doing my numbers, like, okay, if I paid this much, how much, I had no idea. And then, hello, Google, can you tell me how to do this? And so it's one of those things that I have no business background. I have no idea what I'm doing. I just try and do every day.
Yeah.
And now it's one of those things that I find people like you and I find other people and I'm like, oh, we are all in the same boat. We just had an idea, we're passionate about it, and we're just going forward. And I'm like, it is now, I'm like, we're going to support everybody. So like this Christmas, everybody getting a small business gift.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Oh, you wanted something from Amazon? Too bad. You get a small business gift.
You getting this.
This is what you get. So you don't like it. Oh, well, because it's like, that's how your company is able to survive, is people supporting you, even if it's not monetarily, it's you supporting me and giving me this platform, right?
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things that I have no idea what I'm doing. Zero. But I know what I like, and I know what I buy, and I know what my consumer wants and wants to buy. And so we just go in that way. So
wow, I'm impressed.
Thank you.
Really impressed.
Thank you.
No,
it means a lot.
Yeah, because I really did not know that you just started this year. You fooled me with that. But I thank you for sharing that, because that's the reason why I try to connect with other women who are starting their business, because not only do we have the same common background with being mixed, but also just as business women, knowing the struggles that we both go through, knowing that you just started off not knowing what you were doing, that to me makes me, again, you're another woman that I met, and I'm like, okay, I'm not alone on this. So
and it's tough, right? It's the, I didn't realize it before, but being a minority business owner is its own entity unto itself. I don't have people to give me capital. I don't have investors. I don't have a rich aunt, uncle, I don't have, like, nobody's rich. We ain't got no money, right? I don't have people who are gonna like just give me $10,000. I don't have any of that. And a lot of businesses that you see like skyrocket, they do, right? They have parents who are going to invest in them and who can buy all buy all these things for them. I don't have that. And a lot of business owners who are people of color don't. And so you see this huge disparity, right? Of like growth. And it's like, oh, well, they could do it. I could do it. Actually, they have an advantage that you don't, know? So that's the other thing, is like my business, when we first started out, and actually still now, that I'm like thinking about it, the person who designed my Mosaic The Label, Pete, he is biracial. Like a lot of our vendors are biracial or of color or are women. So we try to, like I have someone working on a product right now. She's a woman, so it's like all of our models are either family or friends, and they're all biracial. So we're trying to like keep it within this very large family that we've created, right? Because it is especially difficult for people like you and me. And on top of that, being a woman. And you can see when you see like the businesses who are like popping on Instagram or whatever. And there's even been, studies done on like TikTok. I had to get off of TikTok because you couldn't put words like Black or mixed in your bio. It would ding you. Oh, wow. And so I would see all these videos getting all these plays. I'm like, why? But then you get like shadow banned or whatever. Because you're talking about a certain topic. And obviously all my videos are mixed race, mixed people.
You're like, I can't avoid that.
Oh my God, there's a hashtag for gay people. So it's like you see these things and you're like, man, you just keep throwing more and more hurdles. And I'm determined to just like keep going and just keep pushing forward, because yes, it's always going to be harder for people like you and me, but like eventually we'll get there. So
most definitely. I love it. So you have a full-time job, you said? Okay.
Yep.
So you're doing a full-time job. You are doing your business. You have a kid.
I always tell my husband, I'm like, man, I wish I had my own reality show so people can follow me around my day to day and be like, God damn, she does a lot. Like, I always tell people I do more in one day than most people do in a week. And I know you work like a full-time as well. And people are like, how do you do it? And I'm like, my thing is like, I'm just super organized. Like, I wake up, I've worked from home for even before COVID for many years. But yeah, I like it's a very aggressive 9 to 5. And I've always watched my child at the same time from the day she was born until now. Like I'm a full-time mom as well. Like I don't have a babysitter or anything. She goes to like preschool for 2 hours a day. And I cram in 8 hours of work into those 2 hours. Okay, she's gone, let's do this. You know, and then I have like a little sliver of time that I can work on my business from 7:30 until 8:30 when I have to put her to bed. And so it's like, you know, I just got to cram it in when you can. But it's like I always tell people it's not like, oh God, I have to do this. It's always something I want to, when I sit down to like work on Mosaic, it's something I want to be doing. I love it. It's like the best part of my day. I'm super excited by it. You know, it's like my wheels are always turning for my company. And when you kind of stand back and you look at it, you're like, wow, I did this. This is all me. And then when, you know, you hear from you hear like, you're saying these things and I'm like, that's not me. But then you're like, oh, wait, it is me. I'm doing a good job. I think I might be doing a good job. You like tell yourself like, okay, you know? So yeah, it's, I won't say it's tough. I just manage like, cause I love to do it and it's been super fun. And you just find these different pockets, you know, and it's really good because my daughter, she knows what it is. She knows, oh, mommy, you're working your other job, right? And she knows. And now she's starting to say like, she's been asking me like last week, Diana, like, mommy, I know you work, but why do you work? And I have to explain to her. And so one day, I think it was like during dinner, I said, Sloan, you know those sneakers? She said, yeah. I'm like, cost money. It's like, Sloan, you know that TV? She goes, yeah. I'm like, cost money. I'm like, Sloan, you know that food? She's like, yeah. I'm like, cost money. And she's like, oh, she's like, I have money. I said, well, where's your money? She goes, I have $1. I said, you do have money. And so she could see, okay, I can earn money and make a difference in different ways. I don't have to work for another company. I can work for myself. So my husband has always had this very entrepreneurial mindset. He also works a 9 to 5 and he runs 2 businesses on the side.
Oh, wow.
He's crazier than I am. But he's always had this mindset. He's very into teaching, you know, our daughter that you can do whatever you want, you know, because we didn't have, you know, someone to like back us or give us money or whatever. We're willing to like help our daughter understand. I now know how to set up an LLC, right? You know how to, like, it's those things, at least I can pass on knowledge to her so that she could do it for herself. Because like, let's be clear, right? Like I didn't have anything. I had to do all this myself. You're going to do all this yourself too. At least I can help you with like knowledge. I'm not giving you my money, but I will help you in my knowledge. I was
gonna say, you're going to have a little entrepreneur by 12, 15. How she's going to be an amazing one.
We had our first like fair in New York. We have a big like fair festival, like life here. And we had our first one and it was like gravel. So like it was in a tent and there was like little rocks, whatever. And I see Sloan like picking up a scoop and she's like going over to like this little area. And she's like laying it down. It's like, Sloan, what are you doing? She goes, mommy, not now. Said, okay. So she's doing that. And then she's like, mommy, I need this. She's like taking things off the table. Like she took a calculator and she's like, okay. She goes, okay, I'm ready. I'm like, what are you doing? She goes, this is my business. She made $5 selling rocks that are on the ground for free to people who paid her cash money. I would be talking to someone because they're like looking at my stuff and she's like, excuse me, would you like to buy some rocks?
Oh my God.
And they would be like, yes. And they would give her money and she'd like, I need this. And she has that money and that's hers to do.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like,
I need her at my booth.
She was pulling them in like, come on. She was so good.
But little hustler already.
She's like, oh, here, mommy. I said, no, that's your money. You made that money. That's your money. Okay. Has no idea what to do with it, right? But she's like,
I'm gonna need her to come on Zoom and we're gonna have to do
you're interviewing the wrong person. You're interviewing the wrong person. It's her. She's the one. But like you can see, you know, okay, you're like what we were talking about before, even if you don't say it, they're always looking, they're always listening. You know,
it's observers.
It's insane. And so, you know, so she like already has that mentality of like, oh, because like you need to work, but the way you work is up to you. You don't have to work a 9 to 5. You could, you know, do your own thing. So it's crazy. Yeah.
I love hearing your stories. You have so many. I think you need to write a book soon too.
I might have to, yeah.
Well, as always, I love talking with you. Your story always has me laughing or making me just want to tell you my stories. And when you share stuff like the negative comments, trust me, I was mad with you.
Oh my God. So it's
it's
crazy.
definitely been fun meeting you. Since,
You too.
yeah, we definitely have a friendship. Hopefully I can come to New York one day once COVID's over.
Yes.
But I want you to share, or before we go to sharing where people can buy their product, I know you said that you're coming out with 15 items. Is there anything else that people should be looking out for, or when does the 15 items get listed?
Yeah, so we have 14 of the 15. We're just waiting on 2 more. So hopefully, I think it's already the 12th. So by this month, we should list them. We have a big October, November, December coming. Like we talked about, I just launched, so kind of every month is something new. We are a big hoodie culture here, so we're gonna have hoodies and crew necks and all of that. So that's forthcoming, but a lot of our items this time, one of the items that I'm really excited about is we did, like, picture a tote bag. We did a little mini tote bag for a kid. It's like a little handbag, and on it says, be all of you all of the time.
Oh, I love
and
that.
So yeah, so they won't be able to read it. Like, my daughter can't read yet, but at least the parents can say it's a message that, like, it can resonate. And we have like a lot of smaller items as well, because we get a lot of like requests for like pins and keychains and smaller items that are coming. So we got a lot going on, so we're excited. We do
have like my list of things, like, okay, I see her posting that, I'm gonna have to put that down. That's the next thing I need to get.
It's difficult, because I don't know what I'm doing, but I try to like think out of the box and like do different things. And and so like I said, we hear a lot from folks. Like, even yesterday, I had a woman who, like you, we talk all the time, tell me like, oh, it'd be great if you could have this and this, and I'm like, we got it, it's coming. So we're gonna have like a lot of new stuff coming, and we're working on like wholly brand, like new products, like something that you never even seen. And then because I am a 90s kid, we're gonna have like a special secret 90s project that's coming soon too. So which all my 90s kids are like, oh my God, you did it. And yes, I did. So it'll be good.
For that.
Yeah, it'll be good. It'll be good. Anyone who I've shown it to, like, oh my God, stop. And I'm like, yeah. So
I'm beyond that. I already know. Even your sticker, the mixtape, I love that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to your new products.
Thanks.
So please tell everyone where everyone can follow you and purchase your items.
Yeah, so we have a website. It is, I don't know if I say www, you know what I mean? It's www, but it's mosaicthelabel.com. And so that's our website. You can purchase from there. All of our new items drop on there as well. And then we are on all of the social media platforms under Mosaic The Label. The one we're probably most active on is Instagram, and then we have Facebook, we have TikTok, we have Twitter and all that, but it's all Mosaic The Label, one word. Yeah.
That's easy.
That's easy. Yeah, try to keep it easy.
I'll definitely put it underneath the comments too.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, but yeah, it's been fun. I was so looking forward to this interview. As always, you have me cracking up. I love hearing more about you and learning more about you. So I really appreciate you. Whenever you feel like you're stressing out, please know, just hit me up and I'll remind you how awesome you're doing.
I will do that. And thank you so much for just this opportunity. This is amazing.
We can do more things together in the future.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, trying to figure something out so we can continue to work together, but we'll definitely keep in contact. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll see ya.
Bye.
Bye.